Hello everyone, welcome back to another monthly reading wrap-up. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and honestly it's been a while since I even filmed a sit-down video, but I'm back sitting down in front of the books to do a monthly reading wrap-up because I'm finally back in the swing of reading a lot. I think I read 12 books this month, something like that, so I'm just gonna quickly go through them because you guys like to see what I read, but I did start a Goodreads account, so if you guys have followed me over there, you've been able to keep up with what I've been reading because I actually have been really good at keeping up with it, but it's linked down below if you didn't follow me on there. With all that being said, I want to talk about the books I've read this month. I've been having a pretty good reading month. I think there's only been like one or two flops, maybe not even. Starting off, first book I finished, I think I finished this on New Year's Day, so I included it in my last wrap up, but it's Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. This is the fourth book in the Magnolia Parks universe, which I loved, was one of my favorite series of last year, and it's obviously still in the works, so this was the new release, and I really loved it, but it's just so frustrating. Again, this is the series that's like toxic romance, rich friend group, so much drama, and just like awful things happening all of the time. It kept me on my toes, and I read it really quickly despite it being really long, and I cannot wait for the rest of the books in this series, and I can't recommend them enough. If you're open to reading like a not happy romance, then I recommend the Magnolia Parks universe. You guys know I love it. And then at the same time as I was reading that, I was listening to the audiobook of The Boys of Braysha High, and I finished that as well, so that was included in my last wrap up. I ended up reading the entire series this month, so it's 5 books. This is a found family I think it's young adult, kind of dark, not really, I mean, kind of. For young adult, I feel like it's like dark romances with like morally gray characters. This also felt like I was watching a movie when I was reading. None of it felt like things that could actually happen to high schoolers, but I was eating it up anyway. Basically, these books follow 3 best friends. They are basically brothers. Their parents were friends. They've been friends since they were born, and they all were adopted by the same dad. The 3 boys each get a romance. The first 3 books are about one couple, kind of like the leader of the group of boys, and then this new girl at school who's kind of a misfit, super badass, and this is kind of just like bad girl, bad boy trope, which I'd never read before. It is quite unrealistic for them being like 16, 17 and like the shit they're doing, but a lot of drama, crazy town. Why does it kind of remind me of like season 1 of Riverdale for some reason? I never watched past season 1 of Riverdale, so I don't know, but I was getting Riverdale vibes. Just like crazy shit happening in their town, stuff like that. Romance is kind of slow burn. It's mostly just focused on the found family trope. The 4th book is the other brothers romance. I thought it was really cute. They just got 1 book. Same with the 5th book. This was my favorite out of all the couples. This is kind of brothers enemy trope. There's kind of like tension there, and I really liked this one because I was waiting for this brother to get a book, but yeah, they just got 1 book each. The first couple got 3. I liked it. It wasn't anything like crazy good, but it kept me entertained, and I wanted to keep finding out what was gonna happen. So there was like the element of the drama and the mystery of the town and like all this crazy sketchy stuff that was happening behind the scenes, and then there's also romances on the side. So I don't have the physical copy of this book, but I picked it up simply because I saw one TikTok with 1 quote from this book, and I was like, oh my god, that sounds good, and the caption was like trope, forbidden romance, whatever, and I was like, fun, let me read it. It was called Priest. Had no idea what it was about besides this quote, the title, and the caption of that TikTok. And as I was reading it, I was realizing what I was getting into, but it was the only book I had downloaded on my phone on the way home from Florida when I was on the plane. And I read it during that entire flight. I finished it. It was unlike anything I've ever read. It's basically just smut, which is like not usually my style. It was definitely forbidden, definitely taboo. I didn't hate it, but it definitely wasn't my style. Probably won't be reading the rest of this series. I know it's a series, but that's what I get for blindly reading a book. So then I was like, okay, I kind of want to read more by Megan Brandy, who wrote the Boys of Brayshaw series. So then I picked up another book by her, which was Say You Swear, and I really liked this one. It was like kind of love triangle, which I had no idea it was gonna be. There's a found family friend group in this, which I really loved, and they have a summer house that they go to every summer, and then she's kind of in love with her brother's best friend, and like shit goes down with them, and then there's all this drama, and then they all go off to the same college. This whole friend group, they go to college together, and everything has changed and everything's different, and she ends up meeting a new boy, and they start a romance, and then it's kind of like, is she just trying to get over the brother's best friend? Does she actually like this boy? Who is she gonna be with? But it wasn't very love triangle-y. Like, I had a favorite the whole time who I knew I wanted her to be with. I was never frustrated like, oh my god, love triangle, like who is she gonna choose? I felt like it was pretty apparent who she liked more, but there was like drama and like a jealousy aspect because of that. But yeah, I really liked this one. I would definitely recommend it. Then I read Part of Your World, which was a small town romance, and I loved it so much. I was meaning to read this like a couple months back, and I forget why I never ended up starting it, but I finally did, and I'm so glad because I loved it. It was so cute. She's from the big city, he's from a small town. He has a super simple life in the this small town, and she lives in the big city, and she's like a doctor with all these high expectations from her family. Her car ends up breaking down in this small town. He helps her out. That's how they meet. They strike up conversation. She goes back off to her big city, never to think to see him again, but it is their romance. And it's really, really cute. It starts off with a friends with benefits situation, but the guy in this book is just so sweet and so wholesome, and like you can just tell he's like in love with her the whole time. You're like, this has never been friends with benefits. Like, I know that you're in love with her, and like she just has all these expectations on her shoulders, and she's like, I can't just like abandon my life and come to this small town. And it's kind of back and forth. They're from different worlds, hence part of your world. I really like every book I've read by this author. I don't really know how to pronounce her last name, Abby Jimenez, but her books are really, really good. Then I read a book which I started the audiobook of last year and then completely forgot to finish it. Twisted Lies by Anna Huang, the last book in the Twisted series. And I don't know why I stopped, because this book was definitely one of my favorites in the series. It's very long. If you don't know, this is like a companion novel series. This one specifically was about Stella, who's one of the 4 friends that the books are about. And she is a social media influencer, but like she's kind of in a rut in her career. So her and like her manager, like she decides that she needs to get a fake boyfriend and like soft launch him on her social media to get more attention, because she's trying to get like this huge partnership, so she needs more attention on her social media. So she's like, perfect, if I have like a relationship, it will bring more traction to my account. So she's looking for people to fake date, and then the guy that owns the building she lives in, which you meet earlier on in the series, ends up being her fake boyfriend, and they like do fake dating social media kind of thing. He needed a girl to come with him to these charity events because he's like a billionaire, all this stuff. So they're fake dating. He's the CEO of a security company. Come to find out, comes in handy because she has some creeps that follow her on social media, and there's like scary situations with that. It's like Grumpy Sunshine, and I liked it, but that's that. Then I think this is like one of the only flops of the month, which I really wanted to like, but I didn't, was The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This almost put me in a slump, so I decided to DNF at like 80%. So like I almost finished it, but I didn't. I just couldn't get into it for some reason. Like, I loved the other 2 books in this series. It's companion novels as well. The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test I loved, so I thought I was gonna love this one. I just didn't connect with it at all. I was bored, and it was putting me in a slump, so I stopped reading it, but that's that. And then the book I recently finished was You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle, which I've read before, but I was meaning to reread and give a second chance, because the last time I read it, it took me like over a month or like 2 months to read, because I was in a reading slump back in like 2021, and I didn't remember a single thing that happened in this book. Like when I just read it, I swear to God, I was like reading it for the first time, besides like a few things that I remembered, because I would literally read 2 pages at a time back when I was in a slump. Not that this book put me in a slump, I was just like going through it back then, so I like wasn't having time to read, but now I read it and I loved it. I probably would give it like 4.5 stars or 4 stars. Like, I really loved it. It's second chance romance. Basically, this couple is engaged and they're just like realize that they don't like each other anymore, and they're fighting. They're not even fighting a lot, but they just like drive each other crazy. They notice like every little thing that the other one does is like annoying them. The girl has a really bad relationship with his family. They don't treat her right. She kind of just like emotionally checked out of the relationship, and he feels like neglected, and they both just like don't get along. But their wedding date is like fast approaching, and they're both trying to like sabotage the wedding so that the other person will call it off so they don't look like the bad guy. So they're like trying to do things to annoy each other to get them to call off the wedding. It was fun in that aspect, but what I really loved was watching them realize that they do love each other and falling back in love with each other. And it was like the same things that used to annoy them ended up being like things that they realized they loved, and how they forgot that they loved each other, and like you got to relive all those feelings, and it was just really, really cute. That was You Deserve Each Other. But I hope you enjoyed seeing what I read this month. If you follow me on Goodreads, then you already are one step ahead, but I'm gonna try to keep doing these videos because I know you guys like to see them. I like to film them and just keep track of everything I've read. That's the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. If you want to follow me on my other social medias, they're all linked down below as always, as well as my Amazon storefront where I have a bunch of different book recommendations to tropes on there, as well as my Goodreads and my merch. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Bye!